session. So good evening, everyone. Today we are going to discuss this topic of determining the customer lifetime value. That is, when we talk about marketing, we all understand that there are two different aspects, especially with respect to acquisition of the customers. At the end of the day, what is the goal of marketing? The goal of marketing is to increase the revenue, improve the revenue over a period of time. When you would like to improve the revenue, there are obviously simple opportunities. That is, whom do you target? How do you target and acquire those customers? That's something you should be very much focused on. That's how you generate the revenue. That's how we increase the revenue over a period of time. Now, while acquiring the customers, you want to acquire profitable customers for you. That's where, if you notice, in the last two sessions, we were discussing about customer segmentation, and then we also focused on customer personas. So getting the right customer is something which is very important for you to make profit out of them. If you don't hire the right customers, it's going to affect your business. It's going to affect your cost over a period of time. So that's where, to know who is a profitable customer, we use a metric called as the customer lifetime value. Of course, again, with the help of the data, we would love to understand which customer can be a profitable customer for me, and how can I acquire them? Where can I find them? So that when I acquire, I need not worry much. So in a way, if this is more about customer acquisition versus customer retention, in both areas, you would love to know how much is a customer worthy for me. If the customer is really worthy for me, that is, he is going to give me profit over a period of time, I would love to retain those customers, or I would like to acquire those prospects who can give me lifetime value. In fact, this can also be your pricing strategy if you do it right. The moment you realize that, okay, I can acquire this customer and this customer can give me revenue over a period of time, maybe to begin with, you can acquire them at a lower cost. Acquire them at a lower cost and then get the revenue over a period of time. Thereby, initially, even though the customer may not be giving you the profit that you are expecting, but over a period of time, it turns out to be a profitable customer for you. Take the example of Ola, Uber. This was the exact strategy for them to acquire the right customers at a very cheap cost, make them get used to the product, like the cab. If you remember back 7-8 years back, when Ola Uber was picking up, it was more about getting the cab at 6 rupees per kilometer. Each company was coming up with their own strategies to acquire the customers, because they knew very well, the moment I acquire the customer, the moment the customer starts using my cab service, over a period of time, I would be able to gain more profit. I'd be able to make the whole business profitable over a period of time just by getting this customer. So they all relied on this metric, one metric, customer lifetime value, CLV, or customer lifetime revenue. Yes. So they were all focusing on this: acquire and then penetrate. Once you penetrate, once you become a monopoly, you know that the customer is dependent on you. Over a period of time, you'll be able to make a lot of money about it from the customers. So this has been a very, very popular strategy that has been adopted. In fact, that is one of the reasons. Yesterday, I was talking about watching Shark Tank. So I always keep relating to these examples because it's important for us to connect the dots and see from the larger business point of view. People generally tend to check, okay, you as an entrepreneur, or for your business, even though it is a small startup, how many Instagram followers you have, or how many customers you have got now. Maybe at this point of time, you're not getting the margin, but if you have the good customer base, if you have the good share of revenue in the market, over a period of time, you'll be able to make more money. That's one of the reasons most of the unicorns today they are not making enough profit for the kind of evaluation that it may have. But they are all promising a huge profit down the lane. That's why the investments are flowing in, because of the customer base that they have, because of the market share that they hold. And from the customer, how can they get profits over a period of time? This customer lifetime value is a metric that is playing a significant role in increasing their valuation. So this topic is very, very important. And why do we study about this in customer analytics? Because at the end of the day, this metric can be computed only with data. So in the marketing world, in the customer world, looking at the important aspect of measurement, because as we always say, we can't manage what we can't measure, the fundamental philosophy of analytics. So here we are trying to measure the lifetime value of a customer and then start managing that customer base, looking at the longer value, and then giving him discounts, retaining the customer or acquiring him at a lower cost or at a loss. We're able to take a lot of decisions and manage the customer base with this one measure. So data-driven analytics, data-driven decision-making is happening in this space. That's the reason this is one of the important topics that you may need to be aware of in the customer analytics world. So now let's discuss about this in detail. So what is customer lifetime value? Can anyone make a guess what is customer lifetime value?
Yes, sir. Can I?
Please go ahead.
Sir, customer lifetime value means it computes the dollar value of individual customer relationship. Means it is both you can say backward looking and forward looking approach, and computing the value part of the customer we had.
Okay. So do we talk about the revenue or do we talk about the profit? What exactly are we saying when we say value?
Sir, we are talking about the profit.
We are talking about the profit. Okay. Any other responses from the class?
Sir,
Yeah, Akash.
sir, I guess customer lifetime value is the profit it is going to give to the company in the upcoming future. So that how profitable that customer can be for the company, I guess it can be. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
No worries. Good guess, Akash. Perfect.
Yeah,
So let's
revenue, customer revenues.
true, IS. Yes. Good. Thank you, IS and Akash. Thanks for the inputs. Have you ever faced this? This is what I was giving it to you in the context. If you ever sign up for a credit card that had a low introductory interest rate, but I'm sure the moment you get to the job, you all will be getting a call like, I'm ready to give a personal loan in 5 minutes. I'll give it to you at a lower cost, or I'll give you a free subscription to this particular platform. First year, it will be free. The credit card is free, or the subscription for this product is free. Okay. You might have experienced all these marketing strategies. Where do you think is the core of this marketing strategy? The core is the customer lifetime value. The company makes a detailed analysis of the customers who can be profitable in their business in that context. They would like to acquire those customers. And how do they want to acquire those customers? They don't mind giving a cheaper rate of interest, or at a very low rate, at a very low price, even at a loss sometimes, they're ready to offer it so that they acquire you as a customer. Once you are acquired as a customer, then it becomes easier for them to build the revenue over a period of time, and they start seeing more value, more profits from you over a period of time. So this is a very, very popular strategy. So what is CLV? It is the total profit that an individual customer generates for your business over his or her lifetime. So what is the revenue? What is the profit actually that you're going to get? So revenue minus cost over a period of time. The cost that you incur to acquire, to retain the customer, the revenue that you will get from the customer, together overall, what is the total profit that you can generate from an individual? This is what is called as customer lifetime value. So the customer lifetime is the time period that starts when a customer first uses your business Either he buys it in person or online, and hence when he buys his last service or product from you. So overall, what is the revenue from the first purchase till the last purchase? How much is expected? That's what CLV is all about. It covers the entire relationship you have with the specific customer or the segment of customers. So just imagine this concept with the persona that we defined earlier. If you're able to bring both of them together, it is easier for you to understand which customer has how much capacity, what is the total net worth, and what can I cross sell, what can I upsell to a particular customer. Will the customer be able to afford to pay and buy those products? All these questions will get answered. It's all about connecting the data points from different systems and having an analytical view of the customer, which will actually help me to take a better decision with respect to the business. So remember the customer segmentation that we spoke a few days back. One of the primary reasons for segmenting customers, even though we spoke about demographic, geographic, psychographic segmentations, we can also look at the financial way of segmenting the customers. That is, how much revenue will a customer give to me? You all know that all customers will not generate the same revenue. Even though all customers are equal, some are more equal compared to others. You want to focus more on some customers than on others. Simple 80-20 principle, right? Pareto's policy. If you notice, your 80% of the revenue may come from 20% of the customers. So you will focus on those 20% of the customers so that you are able to generate enough profit. That's what they call, you call it as a high net worth customers. So customer segments are more profitable than others. Certain segments are. So you want to understand how segments of customers differ in duration of their relationship with your business. So the moment you segment them, you're trying to understand more about what is driving their relationship. What can you do better to increase this pie of customers who are going to spend more time with you, more relationship with you, thereby the more revenue over a period of time. So customer segmentation plays a significant role there. The CLV is intimately linked to the customer loyalty. Loyalty is an important parameter, isn't it? Because you're talking about the first purchase till the end purchase. So obviously, you are looking at somebody who can buy the product over a period of time. So some customer segments are obviously more prone to loyalty when they are spending a long relationship with you. Therefore, they are cultivating a long-term relationship with your customer business. So over a period of time, more revenue is getting generated from them. So this is where you need to look at each segment that you have. Understand what the customer lifecycle value is. It enables you to balance the acquisition customer of a new customer with the expected long-term revenue. When you have multiple segments divided based on multiple attributes, you will also look at the customer acquisition cost and also the customer lifetime value of each segment. The moment you look at both these parameters, it becomes easier for you to take a call whether you need to focus on a particular segment or not. If the lifetime value is not great and the acquisition cost is more, then obviously you don't need to spend more time there, right? Because it doesn't make commercial sense. So you will stop worrying about that segment. So this knowledge also helps you to fine-tune your marketing strategy to acquire more high customer lifetime value customers. So you have understood what is CLV. Now let's understand why the CLV is more important. Because from the image, if you look at it, we can clearly understand it is nothing but the net profit that you can get from a customer over a period of time. So you need to look at who are all the customers who can give you high profits, very profitable customers, then normal profitable customers, then non-profitable customers. So obviously you segment them, and then you will start to understand where to focus, how to connect with the customers better. What are the drivers also? So this particular measure, customer lifetime value, it actually serves many purposes for you. It gives you a very good idea of how much total profit you can expect from a customer. which is what the marketing person always looks for, the total revenue, the total profit that you can get from a particular customer. Actually, it is not a rocket science. It is very easy for us to calculate this. We will be looking at the formula also in this session. So knowing the total lifetime profit created by a specific client can also help you to determine which goods or services justify higher marketing costs or sales compensation. So calculating the CLV for different segments will help you to prioritize the strategy. Look at the marketing strategy in a different perspective altogether, because this gives you a better insight for your overall plan. So apart from getting the holistic view of the client, it also helps you to forecast the future sales, how much revenue you can get from different customers. It will help you to optimize the resources efficiently for your spending, control the cost over a period of time. Let's look at some examples. Cable company, the Tata Sky or Reliance, whichever company that you may have. It's a good example for effectively utilizing the concept of CLV. How? The cable companies offer very low upfront fees. They calculate the lifetime value of the customer. Therefore, they know that they can afford to lose a little in the beginning to acquire long-term customers. Have you seen any other business which does the same initially? Initially, they offer something at a lower cost or at almost loss, but they know that they can make money from you over a period of time. Can you give me some examples of it?
Yeah, Geo.
Yes. Also,
Geo.
sir, Ola Uber in the starting, they provide 50 rupees to each every friend which you refer. So like referring
Correct.
every friend, you will get rupees 50.
Zomato, sir, initially they have provided like first 5 meals you will get coupon for.
Very good. Yes. So that is also a good option. Correct. So referral is, I mean, in fact, Akash, just to clarify, the referral charges that you are getting by referring somebody, you are getting some money. Actually, it is a way that they are sharing. It's one additional channel of acquiring the customers. And obviously that 50 rupees is actually lesser than the usual customer acquisition cost for them. So referral bonus
Yes.
is always that's something which is good. We just need to keep it in mind. Of course, we need to compute and calculate and make it very clear that how much are we going to offer. That amount is actually always lesser than the usual customer acquisition cost. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Utkarsh, you want to say something?
No, sir, thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, even other cases, like take the net connection, internet connection that you have at home. They always tell you that the router is free, correct? Just initially, when you are getting into an Pathway or Act or any kind of a connection, they will say that if it is 3 months, okay, this is the cost. But if it is 6 months, they will give you the router for free. 1 year means a couple of additional months also. In a way, they are incentivizing it because they know that once you join the customer base, they know how to make money over a period of time. You will not be just switching so easily, because in certain platforms, certain businesses, switching cost is also very, very high. So that makes it really a tough choice for the customer to move from one product to the other. So say, just like cable companies, another company is financial services firm. This is from US. Charles Schwab has the lifetime revenue of individual customers ready for managers and employees when they are resolving problems the customers encounter with the service. So this is one of the key metric that is indicated for every customer, so that the manager or the employee will be able to take a call on how to deal with the customer, whether to retain them, whether to let them go. So there'll be a call very clearly taken based on this metric. So employees have the ability to credit customers with free trades, and in some cases even help offset the losses based on the lifetime value of a customer. If the customer is really good and is a high net worth customer for me, because this customer is giving steady profits every month and is going to be with me for a long time, I can see that from this metric, then I'll go that extra mile to that customer and ensure that he doesn't leave my service. So I wouldn't mind giving that $100 rupees what he is fighting for a customer who has spent $10,000 over 10 years with me, with my service, with my product. So this is where companies have to look at the magic. In fact, this happened, if you notice, when Jio came in, I told you this example earlier, giving a call to the customer care, Airtel customer care. All of us would have got something free. How many of you tried this? Did you all make a call to the customer care to get something free? Mohit has done it. Good. I have
Yes,
done it.
sir.
So all we need to do is give a call to the customer care and say that, look, boss, I am planning to move to Jio. I got nearly for 2 years, I got a lot of benefits. First year, I got 40-50 GB of internet every day. Sorry, every month it was given for free. And then on top of it, they also gave me 200 rupees discount in my postpaid bill. That time it was 650 rupees plan I was in. It came down to 450 rupees. The 200 rupees discount was given every month for 12 months. Then after it was over, I gave a call again and I told them again there was 100 rupees discount for another 1 year. And then finally I settled down to a cheaper plan. So they look at the customer lifetime value, how long the customer has been with us. Okay, if I lose this customer, how much customer lifetime value I'm going to lose? Can I take a call based on this metric and offer something to retain this customer? That's a simple logic. Even at customer service, they're trying to apply. So if you notice, this metric CLV is something that can be used at different stages of the life cycle in marketing. To keep a customer happy, to acquire a customer, at every stage, you can use this metric to take a call. So knowing how long the average customer who initially benefited from the low fees does business with them, marketers can actually determine how much money they can lose to acquire new customers. So take two examples here that is given here. First one, Eastman Kodak. So initially, they were selling the cameras at a loss. Remember the Kodak camera we all used? The Kodak
Yes.
cameras used to be slightly expensive. The technology wise, it was good, but the problem is it was slightly expensive, but still they were taking a cut they were making a loss in that. And they know very well that they could make up the loss with the sales of the film roll. Just for the nostalgic moment, how many photos you can take with that film roll? Do you know that? Remember that?
Sir, 30 to 35.
30 to 35. 32 used to be the number, isn't it? Mostly 32, 33 at the max, sometimes 31. That's what I remember
Yes.
with the Kodak camera. Which are the other cameras that were there along with Kodak? Canon was
Sony
there.
too had.
Sony had, correct. Sony digital camera was famous, right? Not the normal one. Oh no, normal camera was also there. Yes. Then
It's a Practica.
Uh,
which one? Sorry,
Practica.
Practica. Okay.
Nikon.
Leica was
Nikon
also
was
there.
there. Yes, correct. Yeah, Bodhi.
Leica was also there, so you could shoot the moon from that camera. So
Oh, is it? Oh.
yeah. It was a huge camera, huge.
Good. So all those cameras, I think from there we slowly migrated to the digital cameras. I still remember with my first salary from TCS, first year, I bought this Sony camera DSL, not DSLR, sorry, digital camera to begin with. That used to be slightly expensive. Like that time it was 42,000 or something, 18,000, sorry. And then I moved on to DSLR. And then, yeah, that's the last thing. After that, the mobile revolution happened. Every smartphone started having powerful cameras. Now all we need is a good smartphone. The whole camera industry is in a way destroyed, with only professionals getting into it or enthusiasts, photography enthusiasts trying it. Good. Just like Kodak cameras, the other industry is razor blade. They're actually cheap, and in some cases given for free when you purchase them with a new shaver. It's the years the customer spent buying the refill blades that allows for the initial low prices. Obviously, logic is good, right? And also, if you would have noticed this one also, like how many of you have tried Mortine Goodnight?
Yes.
You
Yes,
know
sir.
that one device, if you buy it, you cannot fit the other liquidator with the same one. You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is also something which is a strategy. Push that liquidator at a cheaper cost, give 1 or 2 bottles free, but over a period of time, you don't have a choice but to buy the same, because otherwise you have to buy the liquidator again next time from some other brand.
Machine again,
Machine, correct.
liquidator.
Correct. Sorry, machine again. Yes. So that's another strategy. So all these strategies are working out because the customer's lifetime value is very much predicted with the help of the numbers. Same way, printer. So printer, cartridge, that combination. So printer companies are willing to sell you a printer at loss so that they can make money out of ink toner or the cartridge over a period of time. So CD clubs used to do the same. Like in US, Columbia House, one of the famous CD houses, they used to charge a penny for 10 CDs because they would lock you in to purchase 10 overpriced ones, even if you don't want them the next year. So it's all about giving something at a cheaper cost initially to lure you in, because they know that they can make money from you over a period of time. So all of these are examples of companies calculating the customer lifetime value. And based on this, their customer acquisition strategy is completely designed, devised based on this small piece of information. So this piece of information is very critical for a marketer. And of course, none of the marketing courses focuses on it much, except this customer analytics as a course. So a daring customer acquisition strategy could be a financial catastrophe if you don't calculate this like customer lifetime value correctly. If you don't predict the customer behavior, because there is a big assumption that you are making when you're calculating CLV, that this customer is going to buy my product for a long time. This customer is going to purchase it. So every time he's going to average order value will be so much. So I'm going to get so much money over a period of time. That's what is the core assumption. Even though the concept CLV has been very popular for some time, it has been here for a long time. Few companies only have started using the data analytics technology to track each customer, understand their usage on an individual basis, and then calculate this metric in a better way, so that it is easy for us to quantify the behavior of a customer over the lifetime. So the important aspect here is, yes, you have understood the metric is important, but to get the right strategy with this metric, you need to calculate it correctly with the help of technology, with the help of measuring what the customer can offer you over a period of time. So that's where we need to look at how to apply the customer lifetime value in business. Any questions here? Anything you would like to ask so far? All good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Now let's understand how customer lifetime value is used in Netflix. Can you make a guess how it is used in Netflix? How do you calculate it?
Sir, by the subscription of the customer. The means कितने देर का subscription उसने लिया है?
Okay. Valid one, I guess,
And
but
maybe
please tell me.
maybe the time the customer spends on Netflix.
Time the customer spends on Netflix, valid one. But will it help me to understand the lifetime value? By the way, Netflix doesn't offer
More
anything for free, right?
1 month free trial they offer.
1 month free trial. Yes, that is there, correct? Good. So let's understand this in a better way. How the customer lifetime value is calculated in Netflix.
Have you ever wondered how much you're worth to a company like Netflix? From the moment you first sign up, Netflix approximates the amount of money you'll spend on their service. This may seem a bit impersonal, but knowing the value of each customer helps guide the Netflix budget on customer acquisition and retention. In business terms, this concept of gain justifying spend is known as customer lifetime value. But how does Netflix calculate your worth? Well, Netflix tracks each current customer and analyzes how often they are cancelling their subscription. This is known as the company's churn. In 2017, the average Netflix customer continued their subscription for 25 months, which meant a lifetime value of $290. So, imagine a customer really liked a particular director, actor, or genre. This means Netflix has approximately $290 minus marketing and overheads to spend on acquiring or making content with those factors. At first glance, this doesn't seem like much, but when their data shows that 10,000 other people have similar tastes, it explains how Netflix justifies spending millions on original content. Ultimately, knowing the lifetime value of your customers helps guide the appropriate acquisition and retention strategy for your business.
So in a way, if you notice, it is clear that having a clarity on what is the customer lifetime value, it can actually help you to understand where you need to invest. See, it's a beautiful thing, right? You understand the commercial value of every customer and what is the genre or the segment that they belong to. So which segment content I need to generate more depending on the high net worth value of every customers. So what do they like? What do they watch? Based on that, I'm going to take a call and then generate that original content. That's fascinating, isn't it? If you do that correctly with the help of data, which Netflix is doing it in a beautiful way. When they're able to play around with the segment data, demographic, geographic, and psychographic, along with this customer lifetime value, they can do wonders with the advanced machine learning algorithms. They'll be able to do more, generate more content because they can predict the customer behavior very clearly. So CLV can be used to evaluate the amount of money that can reasonably be devoted to customer acquisition. There is a cost to acquire every customer. Your college would have spent some money to acquire each one of you as a student for this college. That's what is called as a customer acquisition. And every college is very conscious of how much they can spend on customer acquisition. And that actually depends on how much you will generate as a revenue over a period of time. So in order for your business to be profitable and financially sustainable, it is essential that the customer lifetime value outweigh the customer acquisition cost. If the acquisition cost is very, very high and it is not justifying the lifetime value, then your business is bound to lose considerable amount of money. Again, I'll take the Shark Tank example. One of the participants, she came up with an idea that she will do the final rites for the dead. When somebody dies in your family, unfortunately, in many families, we may not have the information like what they need to do, where they can get the ambulance, where they can do get some proit or all these things for doing the final rites. So when somebody dies, this is what they will do, the complete end-to-end offering. That's what is a business idea that she was pitching on. The obviously counter question that came up was, boss, how much do you spend on customer acquisition? Okay, good, so much. Now, how much is the customer lifetime value? Now the person is dead. So the lifetime value is something which is unpredictable in this case, isn't it? Of course,
Yes,
the
sir.
family which is investing, yes.
Yes, sir. Very interesting case.
Very interesting case. So it's a debatable one. See, even though the person who is getting, for whom the final rites is being performed, he is not the real customer, isn't it? Actually, the family which has actually taken the service is the real customer. But the point is, how frequently they are going to take the service. It's not something we can predict. One, it's not something we should rely on also. So obviously one panelist came back with the comment that I don't want to make money from the dead. That is an emotional pitch. And on the other side, there was a valid question like, can the demand be predictable for this one? Yeah, as a larger segment, you can predict that, okay, so many people can die. Okay, in that, even if I take 1% people taking our service, then I can make so much money. But the problem is that predicting the customer lifetime value in this case is something very, very challenging. And it was not outweighing the customer acquisition cost. So obviously, all the sharks backed out, saying that, look, boss, your business may not be profitable with this one. So I hope you're able to understand the explanation or the example that I'm giving you.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
This business model is has a very common areas with the insurance, but it is a very different different business, different concept
Very true, yes, but
altogether.
insurance survives on exception, isn't it? The insurance policies, if you notice, they always say that they are edging the risk against the underwriting principles, which says that of the total population, only 1 or 2% may be claiming it. So 98% of the people are going to go through the normal scenario of just paying the premium and not claiming it and not dying or making use of the insurance premium. So in a way, that 2% is what is the claiming set of people. So that's where the profitability of the business comes into picture. But here it is opposite case, correct? So there comes a
Yes, sir.
difference. The customer acquisition cost is very, very low compared to the customer lifetime value. In fact, IS, just to add to your point, this was exactly the project I did for Axis Bank when I was an intern. The job for me was to understand why the cross-selling and upselling is wrong in insurance area through the bank. It was exactly the same logic. I mean, maybe you'll be able to relate to this better. Axis Bank was actually partnering with Max New York Life Insurance or something at that point of time, and 2010 it was. So they wanted to. I mean, they had a peculiar problem. That is, every year, the first time when the insurance policy is sold across by the Axis Bank executive, the premiums are coming out correctly, but from the second time or third time, the policy holder is dropping out. That is, the customer is churning out. So with the help of the policy and the premium that has been chosen, actually the bank is predicting that, okay, this is my huge customer lifetime value I'm going to get from the customer. But suddenly in the second year, the bank people are realizing that, oh, I expected this customer to pay the premium this year, but he did not pay the premium. Then they started looking at why this was happening. And this was given to me as a live project. And when I started doing the research, that's when I realized that this was my project with 19 branches I visited in Mumbai. And I spoke to every branch manager. I spoke to the front desk executives and others and try to understand how they do the selling and what is the incentivization mechanism. So the logic was very simple. Remember, I told you about the concept of measurement drives behavior. Do you remember that concept?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Measurement.
So if I give you a goal, like for example, you all will get 100 marks if you attend all the classes, means most probably the 100% attendance will be there. The OD will not be there on the quiz or anything that I conduct, because I am measuring you against the attendance. So obviously the behavior will be driven towards the attendance. Same logic got applied here. The incentivization model for bank assurance was, if they sell this particular insurance type, this premium, if they're able to sell it, the sales commission that the sales agents will receive will be much higher compared to the service commission. Service commission is every year when the premium is paid, the sales executive will get some bit of commission as a service. because this person is also expected to serve the customers. Now, this is where the funny thing has happened, because the sales commission is more. When they are selling the policy, the bank assurance people, the sales agents, they started pushing the customers who cannot afford to pay higher premium. They convince them to pay that higher premium for the first year. Let's say, for example, somebody who's earning a salary of 10,000 rupees per month. Can he take an insurance policy of 40,000 rupees per year?
No, sir.
No, right? His total salary itself is only 1.2 lakhs. How can he pay 30% as an insurance amount? Not fair at all. But this is how it was sold across. So the moment he pays a premium of 30,000 rupees, the bank thinks that in the system, technological systems, it is captured that, okay, this policy holder has taken this particular policy. For 10 years, he'll be paying 30,000 rupees. After that, there'll be returns. Now, first year he gets 10,000 rupees. So with 30,000 rupees, so obviously the bank is estimating that totally the lifetime value of this customer is 3 lakhs minus the cost. But the second year itself, this person is not paying the premium. So when they started digging deeper, when I did the project, I told them, like, look, boss, your sales commission model, the way you are driving the behavior of the people, the sales commission is more. So they want to get more commission in the first year. So they are driving the people to sell the wrong policy at a higher premium. And obviously the customer who is buying it is getting cheated because it's a financial services product. They are not getting too much details. With a lot of hope, they pay the premium. And second year, they are not able to pay the premium because the premium is very high for them. And the customer service executive, the person who sold the policy, is no longer with the bank also. You might have moved out, or you might not be serving the customer. The lifetime value prediction has been taken for a toss because of the wrong selling that happens at the beginning.
And the same salesman would have tried them to buy another policy so that he can get the sales incentive.
Exactly. So that's why the cross-selling, upselling comes into picture. Is correct. So next year, if the policy changes, like the sales incentivization policy changes, obviously the salesman is going to go back to the same set of customers and say that, no, last year that policy is not working out well. This year, go for this policy. He can close that policy and he will try to get some kind of jugaad to get the returns for the customer, and he will make them go for a new policy. So all these things were very much happening. So lifetime value is a metric which comes from the process, which gets calculated using technology, which is an important input to all your sales strategy. So customer acquisition, everything we should take care based on that. So please keep this in mind. This is important. It goes for a toss in many organizations. So to develop a marketing budget, you need to reflect on how much and where you will invest the money. So first, explore what is the allowable acquisition cost. That's the first thing you will explore. How much can you afford to spend to get a customer who will continue to return for repeat business? So that's what is the customer acquisition cost, how much you can afford. So based on the lifetime value, you're calculating it, a percentage of it. And explore the investment acquisition cost. So how much is it going to cost to acquire new customers? So both of these things you are going to look at, allowable one and investment acquisition cost, because this is what is going to give you an input whether you need to acquire or how much you can spend for acquiring a customer. Always remember, certain customer segments are more loyal and generate more profit than others, as we were looking at it earlier. So focusing the customer acquisition strategy on those more profitable segments, it helps ensure that the customers you invest money to acquire are going to stay with you and keep generating revenue. So if you have the right segment identified, who can generate more profit for you in the coming days based on the CLV, your strategy will be around them. Your strategy will be to retain them. Your strategy will be very clear on how you can provide better customer service for those customers to retain them. So that's important. So this is how you apply the concept of customer lifetime value for a particular business. Now, let's understand how to calculate the lifetime value. Any questions here before I proceed? Any observations? Any examples that you have seen before which you would like to share?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, Mohit.
Sir, how we will apply this concept in FMCG industry? Like how they apply this concept?
Very good. So the banking example that I gave you is also similar to the retail market, but of course, yeah, fast moving consumer goods, there is always a challenge because the loyalty is never there. Now, Mohit, take some example. Let's say a shampoo, which is a typical FMCG product.
Yes, sir.
What is the way to track the customer behavior here? Are you capturing any information which is helping you to capture the behavior?
The buying frequency maybe, or the reason for it he may be buying.
Okay, buying frequency. How do you capture the buying frequency in a FMCG customer?
Like company can't do it directly through the sales of the sales through sales channel. It can do.
Okay, correct. So in FMCG, that's the reason many a times, if you notice, loyalty is something which is a tough thing to measure. Have you noticed it?
Yes, sir. In
Do you have a
FMCG,
loyalty card?
loyalty.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
Yes, sir. In FMCG, the loyalty of customer is very low. But when it comes to healthcare, just like in this is in this example, the shampoo falls in the category of personal care, and in FMCG, the product which falls under the category of personal care has the highest loyalty.
Yeah, but how do you track it? Let's say, for example, I'm buying Clinic All Clear. Okay. So Clinic All Clear, who has bought it, where it has been bought, and is he the same customer who has bought it last time? Is there a way to track all this data?
Yes, sir. It is very difficult to track. If he has bought from an e-commerce website, then it is easy, it can be tracked. But if he has bought from an retail outlet or a supermarket, then it is very hard to track who has bought it and what is the frequency. It's very hard to track.
Very tough, isn't it? Especially
Yes.
fast moving consumer goods, it's always a challenge, at least with respect to anything like retail. I mean, let's say, for example, pantaloons or West Side kind of one, it is relatively easier because somewhere we are able to track with the help of the mobile number or anything during the shopping. We are able to identify that, and with the help of which we'll be able to capture some details, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So Mohit, so to answer your question short, FMCG companies where loyalty can be measured easily or loyalty is being tracked, identifying the customer lifetime value is easier compared to a company which cannot do that in their normal process. Like shampoo versus apparel. Apparel will not come under FMCG, just a retail business.
Yes, sir.
But you're able to understand the difference, right, Mohit?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good. Any other questions here?
Not at micro level, we can measure at a macro level, like a particular segment, whether it is loyal or not. In terms of FMCG, I'm talking about.
Correct, Divyanshu, but the problem is, if you don't have it at a micro level, it is not possible for you to measure and or come up with a very right strategy for a for acquiring somebody, right? Yeah, at the segment level, if you're able to track it, maybe at the segment level, you will be able to take some calls. But effectiveness of the process will improve when you have the micro level information, isn't it?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Good. By the way, curious, how do you calculate it at the macro level, segment level?
So by this, for example, if some retail outlet is located at some geographical location, by using that data, we can calculate. Like at that geographical location, how much sales is there for particular product that we can measure in terms of unorganized retail I'm talking about. In organized retail, as you told that there is a phone number, billing date, billing address that is there, but not in an unorganized sector.
Okay. And also one more thing, when you do a shopping in Big Bazaar or more or any supermarket, in fact, the data that is captured about the customer, the mobile number and the corresponding shopping purchase, it is only sitting with the retail store. It is not going back to the FMCG companies, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
By the way, I'm just thinking of a business model. Why can't we aggregate the data from all the stores? If you aggregate everything and provide analytics as a service to larger companies and provide insights on who is shopping what, don't you think it is an important input to larger FMCG organizations?
Yes, sir. It's a SaaS-based model.
SaaS-based model, yes. Just offer analytics as a service, collect all the data from all the stores, analyze them. Of course, you cannot give the data to them, but you can derive insights, publish reports, talking about geography wise, product wise, category wise. You can provide a lot of insights. Just
Yeah,
like
conversion rate.
yeah, conversion rate, we can do it. Repeat purchase rate, you can identify. Retention rate, all these things will be available, sitting as a kind of a treasure of golden treasure of data with the retail stores. But of course, they use it for their own assessment and shopping. The reverse data flow is not happening from the retail stores to the FMCG companies. Maybe if we act as an intermediary, I think, yeah, there is a beautiful model there. I'm sure somebody
Sir,
will
That's a
will
start.
it
nice idea.
Yeah, Akash.
GFK Neuron is a product of GFK company. They are doing the same way. Like they are connected with the stores and the retailers, and they are calculating the data on SKUs and providing insights to their clients.
What is the name of the company, Moin?
GFK company, and the product is GFK Neuron.
Oh, good. See, somebody has thought ahead of us. Good. Yes. Yeah, that is a good one. Thank you, Akash.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please ask me.
Sir, as you mentioned that we can collect data from the different stores and then we can provide insight to the FMCG company. But sir, it will only, but the data will only show about the organized market. What about the unorganized market? So data will not convey the whole population, but it will convey the small group of population.
Correct. I agree. Again, at a very high level, only the segmentation segment level will be able to identify. Like, for example, the distributor will have the data. Each product distributor will know where the products are being distributed, how much has been sold across different retail outlets, especially in the
Yes.
unorganized segment. The distributor will completely keep a tab. And again, the distributor is not a direct employee of the retail company. So will the distributor
Right.
share that data with the company? Most probably, yeah, mostly bigger companies, FMCG companies would be gathering the data, because that's a huge customer insight that you can get for product innovation, challenges, everything you can get it. But Akash, for the unorganized segment, again, at a segment level, you'll be able to gather some insights like this.
Yes, sir.
Good. Any other questions anyone likes to ask? Okay. Now let's look at how to calculate lifetime value. Till now we have looked at the concept. So sometimes you can look at calculating lifetime value as a complex mathematics, depending on the variables that you're considering, depending on what equations you are building out of it, how complicated you want to do it, you can do it. There are even softwares, complex AI-based softwares that can help you to calculate customer lifetime value with a lot of inputs for different customers, different products. So obviously, when you look at multiple dimensions for calculating this customer lifetime value, the complexity of this whole exercise will change. And obviously, the result will be slightly challenging. Of course, it will be improved, but the process of calculating will be very much challenging. Luckily, you don't need to be a mathematician or a computer scientist or a data scientist to compute a basic CLV estimate. So how do we do that? So in fact, there are multiple approaches. We'll take one approach. Kissmetrics is a very popular company which talks about identifying the metrics. In fact, if you remember, we were talking about KPI tree earlier. So identifying the key performance indicators for different industries is one of the key competency of this organization. So they calculated CLV, and for them it was a 3-part process. First one is you estimate the revenue that may come in. The second part is calculate the CLV, customer lifetime value. And then the third step is, once you do that, identify the profitable segment of customers. Once you have the CLV, it is easy for you to identify that. So let's look at each one of these segments and understand a bit more on how to calculate CLV, because the formula and the way you are calculating is more important. The moment you fix this, the moment you know this, then of course the usual data engineering applications, how we have discussed earlier in the second session, all those aspects will come into picture. Like how do you build ETL pipelines to pull data from multiple systems? Then once you bring everything into one common platform, organize it, how can you look at deriving value from it? That is something that can be explored. But let's understand the approach first. What are the steps? First one, estimate revenue. You need to calculate how much a typical customer or a particular specific segment customer, how much he generates per purchase. So one way to do that is to average the revenues from several customers within a segment. So let's say you have a segment like based on demographic, like this age group, this gender, this location, you are classified into multiple segments. Now within that segment, you can take multiple customers. Of course, based on the data that is there, the age, gender, and everything, you can group it and try to calculate the average revenues for different customer. And that is one way to identify how much revenue can come from a typical customer. Take a sandwich shop. Maybe the typical revenue that comes from a sandwich shop is $8. And luckily, not everything will be like a college, right? The college, the customer lifetime value is very well known, isn't it? How do you compute?
Yes, sir.
How do you compute lifetime value for your college?
Sir, the course we have applied for, the duration of the course we have applied for.
The duration of the course, 2 years. What is the fees that you are paying? Anything else that that is being sold across to you as a student?
Yes, sir. We have Maggie Point here, very famous.
No, that is no, that won't come under the college lifetime value, right? When the college tries to calculate the customer lifetime value, they would not be looking at anything else that you buy from the campus, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
They will only consider their company, their revenue.
College sell card to buy anything from the cafeteria. It's, like a credit card.
Okay, like a credit card. They give you a card which you can use internally in the cafeteria.
Yeah, sorry, debit card, like a debit card.
Like a debit card. Even that will come under the respective cafeteria's revenue, right? Cafeteria comes under the canteen directly, I mean college directly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, the tuition fees which we pay to the college.
Yeah, that's the only revenue that I can see. And it is also a fixed amount, right? For 2 years.
Yes, sir.
So at the beginning of the course, you have a clear-cut understanding how much you're going to pay and how much the college is going to get from you. It is almost fixed. Unless there is something else that can be value added on top of it, like anything that is being sold across from the college. But alumni association, you pay a fee, correct? You are not charged for anything more, isn't it?
No, sir. Yes, sir. We have a alumni-based network. Yes.
Correct. But for that, you pay only once to the alumni association or maybe annual membership or 5-year membership, correct?
Yeah, there is a lifetime membership, and one time only we have to pay.
Correct.
That's a one time.
So look at this one. The one that you are seeing is nothing but the purchase data of a fictional set of customers for sandwich. So on an average, you see that $8 is something a customer would get, or a company would get on an average from a customer. So this is one way of looking at it. Obviously, the larger the customer sample that you're going to get, the more precise the results are. But the point is, CLV can't be more precise than the data it is calculated from. So you need to look at what data is coming in, whether the data quality is good. So you need to look at the hard data, such as the historical or the current sales, to obtain accurate averages. So that's something you should be aware of. The second one is, you also should look at the frequency of the customer purchase. So one way, if you'll notice, this one, whatever we calculated, is there a term for this?
Sir, which?
The one, like for example, $8 is the average shopping point for a sandwich customer. So 6 different customers I've looked at how much they are spending on a sandwich, and then finally I've come to the conclusion like $8 is the average spending of a customer. Is there a technical metric name to this?
Sir,
Yes,
the
go ahead.
customer has spent this, no?
Yeah, customer is spending this, correct. Is there a name to it?
Gross margin
No.
or retention spending? ये तो it is retention spending is done by the company. That's why.
Correct. Vicky is saying ARPU, average revenue per user, that is for the telecom industry, Vicky. Can you think slightly more? This is a very popular term. Again, if you watch Shark Tank, you'll be able to answer this easily. Tell me one thing. What is the average order that you put on Swiggy or Zomato? Is there a rough average that you can always think about when you're spending? We all will be following a pattern, right?
Order value means in terms of rupees.
Yeah, that's the term here. Average order value.
Yes, sir.
Average order value is nothing but how much a customer spends on an average. Okay, this is an important metric to assess. Okay, how much each customer is spending. Okay, this is an important value that you should keep in mind. So the second
AOV,
factor, AOV, correct. Yes, that's something you should keep in mind. The second one that comes in is estimating the frequency of the customer's purchases. How frequently the customers are buying, the appropriate time frame, which we normally call it as a purchase cycle, right? Like for example, if you buy a toothpaste, usually toothpaste cycle would be like every month we'll be buying one for the family, correct? On an average.
Yes.
So toothbrush maybe every 3 months or 6 months, depending on the person, family, the brushing habit. Shampoo, for every product, if you look at it, there is a purchase cycle. Okay, purely depends on the product and the industry. Now, a sandwich shop may find that the most relevant time frame is 1 week. That is, each customer purchases about 3 times per week, as you can see in the figure. Like customer 1 is spending 1 week, buys every week only once. Customer 2 spends, buys 6 times a week. Good. So if you look at like this, across all the customers, on an average, 3 orders are coming per customer per week. So depending on the product, like desktop, laptop means like 2 to 4 years. Rental car, airline ticket means maybe you can find a pattern again few times a year. Purely based on customer segment, purely based on the product, industry, location, multiple factors are there. Based on all these things, based on the data, you will be able to understand the frequency of the purchase. So the first metric that you computed was average order value. Second one is frequency of purchase. Third one, calculate the revenue per customer over a certain period. So how do you do that? You multiply the revenue per purchase by purchase frequency. Like, okay, on an average 3 times a week, a customer is buying for sandwich. That means average I have calculated as 8. 3 times a week is spending. That means totally $24 per week. I'll be getting it as revenue. So revenue per purchase multiplied by frequency of purchase equal to revenue over a certain time period. Usually it can be a week or it can be a month depending on the product. Does that make sense? Are you with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in a way, I have calculated this way. Of course, you can look at it customer wise also and then calculate the average. But on an average, it's more like revenue per purchase multiplied by frequency of purchase. That gives you the revenue over a certain time. So you know how to estimate the revenue. What we have done is nothing but estimating the revenue. This is the first step towards calculating the customer lifetime value. Now, second step, the simplest way to compute the customer lifetime value is to evaluate how long the average customer does business with your company and to calculate how much revenue is generated during that period. Like you say, revenue per purchase, that is $8 that we saw for the sandwich shop. Frequency of purchase, that is 3 times a week, I call it out. And then the lifetime. Okay, how many weeks he would be making a purchase like this? Maybe 2 years, 3 years, that means 54 weeks, 108 weeks. Maybe I can compute like this and then put it across, substitute it. If I do this total calculation, it becomes a total customer lifetime value. Correct? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
We'll take the same formula, apply it in a different context. Take insurance, the one that we were discussing earlier. How do you calculate it for insurance? How do you apply this formula in that context?
Sir, revenue per purchase means the premium per policy. Frequency of the purchase means how many installment of premium they have to give,
Very
or
good.
how
So
often
just give
they
a
have to
number.
give the premium.
Let's say, for
Yeah.
example, term policy you're paying
12.
means let's say, for example, 50 lakhs insurance policy you have taken means, let's say 18,000 or 20,000 a year you're paying as a premium. So 20,000 per purchase. So revenue is 20,000. Perfect. Frequency is
Per year, if you the premium is per year, so one per year.
1 per year. So every year you're making that purchase. Very good. What is customer
Yes.
lifetime year?
Sir, it has to be calculated because it is till the policy mature. So the mature.
So it depends on the policy. Yes. Like for example,
Yeah, depend on the
sometimes
policy. Yeah.
you will say that pay up to 60 years or pay for the next 10 years. After that, from 15th year, you will get so much money. So typically based on the policy, you will be substituting here, correct? Customer lifetime. So again, 10 years
Yes.
or 15 years. And then the moment you calculate this, you just multiply everything. Let's say 10 years, you are paying it every year, 1 per purchase. 10 into 1 into 20,000 rupees. So totally 2 lakh is the total customer lifetime value that we are looking at. Okay. So this is how you calculate it. Now let's take one more example for slightly complicating the scenario or getting into more details. This is more like guess estimate. How many of you have done guess estimate? In your interviews, have you faced that? Guess estimate?
Yeah, guesstimate. We used to say guesstimate.
Guesstimate, correct. How many of you have faced this in the interview?
Yes, sir. Faced.
And
I have faced.
very good. Customer lifetime value is a very popular question in guesstimate. Okay. Let's take a simple example. How does Uber calculate this total customer lifetime value? How do you think this will be calculated?
Sir, Uber will be the revenue means the commission which they are getting per ride.
Think again.
Sir, means they earn the money by per ride, the amount they receive from the customer.
So you are directly looking at the profit or the revenue the Uber gets. The revenue means equal to the payment the customer gives to the Uber. How do you look
Yes,
at
sir.
it as revenue?
No, revenue means the cost is the cost of acquiring the customer will be minus.
So not only acquiring the customer, even other
The
costs, like
sales
for
and
example,
marketing, yeah, sales and marketing cost will also be minus, and the commission will also be deducted. The commission which they have to pay to the owner of the car.
correct. So the logic here is you are saying that, okay, this is my customer segment, this is the revenue I'm getting from the customer. Depending on how you are computing the revenue, you may consider the total revenue coming from the passenger to the cab driver also. So that means the cost, you should consider how much you are paying to the cab driver. So depending on the revenue calculation, the cost calculation will also change. So average order value is something that you need to keep in mind. And generally it includes everything. And then the frequency of orders, you have to look at it and then multiply it by the customer lifetime. Very good. This is how you start calculating it. You have got a broader view. Nice. So in this sandwich example, if you look at it, okay, $8 per purchase is the average order value, 3 purchases per week, 52 per weeks per year. And on an average, a customer would be eating for 20 years, let's say. So obviously $24,960 a sandwich maker will get from each customer. So however, to make the result more precise, we should consider other factors also if the data is available. So using the revenue generated from a customer will almost always overestimate the customer's true lifetime value, because as we were just discussing about Uber, we are not considering the cost of employees, building, or any kind of overhead costs that may come up, sales, marketing, acquisition cost, all these costs I'm not considering at all. So in fact, if I don't consider all these costs, the CLV is actually referring to customer lifetime revenue. It is not the margin. It is not the profit I'm talking about, because CLV is more about profit. So here we have calculated only customer lifetime revenue because it did not calculate the cost. So therefore makes sense to factor in the profit margin. What is the percentage of the profit, or what is the percentage of the revenue left over after subtracting all the company's expenses? Let's say I'm earning 100 rupees. In that, how much percentage is going in for the cost? Or how much revenue I usually get? So if you have to look at it, that's what I call it as a profit margin. So in my formula, where I computed revenue per purchase, frequency of purchase, customer lifetime, I also bring this factor profit margin, so that I convert this CLR, customer lifetime revenue, to customer lifetime value. Does this make sense to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So the factor is being considered, profit margin is being considered as a factor to bring in the cost element to it. Thereby you are looking totally at the profit margin, which you will receive from the customer, not just the revenue or not just the cost. So let's say, for example, for the sandwich wala, let's say 21% is the profit margin. Then obviously the 24,960 what I computed with 21% margin, if I calculate, the total customer lifetime value will be $5,242 for every customer this sandwich maker is making. So profit margins vary significantly by industry and the product type. So you should be aware how much you will make from a customer depending on the industry and the product. This is what experience teaches you. This is where the data comes into picture. So industry reports, external data that is coming from different areas, all these data points would actually help you to understand what is the normal profit margin in your industry and the business. I'm sure if you take your own college, definitely the margins across the college industry, B schools, will almost be the same. If you notice, it will be like, okay, I can say roughly around maybe 20 to 22%, 25%. Like we always say, in any consulting project, we try to get around 35 to 40%. That's the number that we always look at as a profit margin. So that's a margin that we always keep while we are executing the projects. So purely based on industry product, the profit margin is computed, and that is being used across to calculate customer lifetime value. So take the general electric lighting business. They have margins of less than 5%, and its industrial business has profits around 15%. Software business, depending on the business, of course, has a margin of around 70%. So all these factors have to be considered. So remember, do the best you can to compute a realistic margin based on your business and products, because it will have a substantial effect on computing an accurate lifetime calculation. If you don't calculate the margin correctly, it will impact your total calculation of customer lifetime value, which is not good for you. So I will add a couple of factors now to refine and to make your number more realistic, whatever the CLV that we are calculating now. Two factors, retention rate and discount rate, I'm going to talk about. What is retention rate? It is the percentage of the customers who repurchase over a specific period of time. That is, let's say, for example, after a year, the big assumption, by the way, the big assumption that we made in the previous calculations was, till now, every customer is going to be a repeat customer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which is not true, isn't it?
Yes, sir. There are customer attrition and there are customer retention and acquisition also.
Retention, acquisition, correct, but that will be considered. But the point is, not every customer will buy at the same frequency, even though we are averaging it out. But
Yes,
not all
many will
customers are the
churn.
same. Many will churn, correct. So I need to look at the retention rate. And again, this is based on the industry only. You can say that, okay, if 800 out of 1,000 customers are still my customers after 1 year, my retention rate is 80%. Now this 80%, when I bring it across to my calculation, it is more realistic. I'm not looking at all 100% customers as my retained customers. I'm just considering the realistic number to a greater extent. So if you have the data, please look at your past historical data, do some calculations, and it is easy for you to get the retention rate when you look at multiple years of data. So that will give you a better, accurate piece of information which can be substituted in the formula. The next one is discount rate. So what is a discount rate? It is an economic notion that is used to calculate the present value of future revenues. Remember this discounted cash flow technique you might have studied in the first year, DCF? Do you all remember that?
Sir, NPV, are you talking about?
Calculating the NPV using discounted cash flows.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have studied in financial accounting.
Yes. So that's the concept we tend to apply here. The basic idea is that having money today is worth more than having the same amount of money at some distant point in future. Like earning
Yes, sir,
1 lakh
exactly.
today versus earning 1 lakh 10 years down the lane. So earning 1 lakh today is more important, right? Because the value is really more for 1 lakh today than 1 lakh later.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Exactly, boss. That's the same principle we tend to apply here also when we are calculating CLV. Future profits are discounted to account for the current value. How much will be the profit? When I said $24,960, I'm doing it for 20 years. Obviously, I need to take care of the inflation and everything to bring it down to the current value, right? So if 24,960 is the value 20 years down the lane, what is the value for me today? So that's something I need to think about. If the lifetime of a customer is short, weeks, months, or years, you need not worry much, because you know very well that it's not going to have a long-term effect. But if you're considering multiple years, like 20 years, when you're considering, obviously you need to consider discount rate. Otherwise, the calculations that you're making will not give you the results that you're looking for. So I'm slightly making a calculation change like this. So to make it more accurate. So I'm saying I'm going to use the retention rate divided by 1 plus discount rate minus retention rate. This I'm using it along with other values to bring down the total calculation of customer lifetime value to a more closer realistic value. So revenue per purchase multiplied by frequency of purchase multiplied by customer lifetime, that is 20 years I've considered. If you look at it from the top, I'm saying $8, this for the sandwich example, $8 per purchase. Frequency of purchase is 3 times a week. Customer lifetime is 20 years into 54 weeks. Profit margin, I consider around 20% or something, if I'm not wrong. So then retention rate divided by 1 plus discount rate minus retention rate for that industry and the business. This is how you compute customer lifetime value. You have refined the total value to be a more realistic number. Retention rate can never be more than 100%. It is common sense for all of us. And it won't be 100% also, but no business is like that. Very much ideal, perfect. It is always lower than 100%. And therefore, it always reduces the customer lifetime value, taking the value of future money into account. Using all the discount rates that we are talking about, taking care of inflation and other things. See, mostly when we talk about customer analytics, the precision of the customer lifetime analytics depends on the quality of the data. The quality of the data available and the number of variables that can be evaluated. But however, even imperfect results can be used to compare different segments and identify the most profitable customers. Okay. So that's something you should be aware of. So this is how you calculate customer lifetime value. Any questions here? Any doubts? And by the way, we have a Kahoot at the end. Questions from all these sections are coming in.
Sir, how a fund company calculates CLV means once they calculate, then they will get a number. Then will they go with this number for the whole year, or they frequently calculate the CLV at a regular interval?
See, at a regular interval, it's more like a living document kind of a thing, IS. So since it is system generated, okay, depending on the patterns, the trends, the average that has been computed, and it can be a realistic value in your CRM portal. Always trying to understand what is the relationship, how much is the net worth of the relationship calculated in the form of CLV. So it can be a continuous calculation depending on the every month's purchase and other things that have been made.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So it means it's like they continuously it's like just like the continuous figure. It is like they calculate it on everyday basis and make decisions.
See, as the data comes in, it is part of the calculations that are put across in the systems. Okay. When the data is continuously being fed in, this data will be automatically be recomputed based on the latest data that is coming in. Remember in the first session when we talk about data engineering, I was speaking about OLTP and OLAP systems. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
OLTP is any transaction that is happening. Let's say, for example, the sandwich maker capturing that, okay, this person has made a $10 shopping on the sandwich. He has bought a sandwich for $10 today. Now this is fed in as a data into the OLTP system. Now this OLTP system automatically is going to be aggregating data. Every day it is going to pass the data to the OLAP system. Let's say, for example, you are a sandwich chain of sandwich outlets across India. Let's say, for example, Noida, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, Calcutta, everywhere the shop is there. At the end of every day, which customer, how much sandwich was bought across, every billing information will be fed across, correct? Now this is all aggregated. Now when this is all aggregated, automatically it goes into the OLAP system. And when it goes into the OLAP system, there is a calculation that is done continuously. Every day, the nighttime batch process, when it runs, you apply the ETL logic, extract, transform, and load. So it extracts data from multiple systems, groups it by the customer ID, transforms it, and then keeps updating the total value of the customer till date, total shopping that has been done. and it is put across into the system. Now, every day, this logic can be run. It's just a batch process which runs at the back end, and the customer lifetime value gets updated based on the latest data that has been fed in. This is important because if you keep it like a frequency, let's say, for example, quarterly or half yearly or annually, the problem is the information will be outdated. It will not be updated. Now, the outdated information cannot be used for a critical decision making. Like, for example, designing a customer strategy, improving the customer experience. We are looking at different examples, right? Like somebody takes a call whether to give some discount to a customer based on the past transactions, based on the CLV. If the information is going to be outdated, I'm not going to give the right experience to the customer. So you need to keep this continuously updated for you to get the right output from the process.
Okay, sir, got it. Thank you.
Perfect, good. So let me just touch the last part. Identifying the profitable customers. We have understood how to calculate the CLV, how to consider certain parameters to improve the value of CLV. Now let's finally look at who are all the profitable customers from it. So calculating the lifetime value of different segments. For each segment, you're looking at the average order value, average customer, the retention rate and everything. It helps you to identify the segments which are worth the investment of large acquisition costs. Because to acquire a customer, there is going to be a huge cost incurred. You need to know whether the cost is okay to incur for a particular segment, looking at the CLV value. So to find the most profitable customers, calculate the CLV for different customer segments and compare with the average CLV. If it is above average, that means high net worth customer. If it is below the average, that means the customer is not worth it. It's below low net worth customer, we call it as. And differences in lifetime value between segments can be rather large and should help you to focus your customer acquisition strategy very clearly. Whom to acquire, whom to ignore. It may be more expensive to gain the good customers' loyalty, but in the long run, they will generate more revenue. So it helps you to identify and answer it easily for you.
Oh,
So
means we calculate CLV for every customer segment
every
separately.
segment, correct.
Okay.
In fact, for the sandwich example, if you look at it, the examples that we saw, like average order value or the frequency per purchase, it will all be changing for every segment. Okay, so you are going to look at each of the segments independently, look at the average order value, and then based on that, you're going to take a call. So you need to compute for every segment. Okay, so you're looking at, this is where the RFM analysis also will come into picture. Remember, we spoke about it in one of the sessions, recency, frequency, and monitoring value. Looking at all these three parameters, you can also segment the customers. Let's say the frequent customers generate $3,000 for you for a sandwich shop, more than the infrequent customers over their lifetime. Then spending $500 to acquire more frequent customers would be actually good from the strategy point of view. You would do that because it's worthy enough. If I spend 500, I'm getting 3,000 over a period of time. That's good enough. So you need to make those calculations. That's where analytics will help you out. Okay, good. We'll take a pause here. So till now we discussed about how to calculate customer lifetime value and then also identify the segments which can be profitable. So again, purely based on the CLV, we are going to compute different segments and then look at it. Now let's look at how to market to profitable customers. But before we get to this topic, I just wanted to quickly touch upon, from the analytics point of view, how different algorithms are used. So primarily I'll play two videos here. One about how the value is calculated, the algorithms that are being applied. And the last, I'll also talk about how it can be implemented in Python. So these are the two things I would like to touch upon through videos, but yeah, of course, along with covering this topic. So let me quickly share this one.
What is customer lifetime value? Customer lifetime value represents the expected revenue calculated using a dollar value or an index that is to be earned from the customer over his or her lifetime, considering all of the possible products that this customer could purchase. Positive revenues represent all actual and potential revenue to be generated from the sale of products and services to the customer, while negative revenues represent the possible loss of such revenue as a result of the customer defecting before his or her expected lifetime with the company. Using a dollar value to represent the lifetime value is intuitive and has a straightforward interpretation. However, sometimes it may be misleading to simply use the dollar value. For example, does a customer who buys 12 times a year and each time buys products with a value of $500 have the same value as another customer who buys products only once a year with a value of $6,000? Some would argue that the customer who buys frequently, although for less value each time, is more valuable because they would be more predictable and reliable to buy more products in the future. Here is where an index that takes into account the frequency of buying and not only the dollar value would be more indicative of the estimated lifetime value of the customer. So when is customer lifetime value used? The most common use of customer lifetime value is in customer acquisition and customer relationship management. The ultimate goal is to acquire and retain valuable customers. For customer acquisition, customer lifetime value is used to identify the acquisition cost as well as calculate cost per acquisition channel. For CRM, customer lifetime value is used to maximize a customer's lifetime value and identify which promotions to provide to which customer segment. Customer lifetime value models are based on several calculations as well as other models. The first is the history of sales in dollar values as well as frequency and timing. These are used to establish the customer lifetime value achieved to date. Second, future revenues that will be estimated by extrapolating the current revenue patterns to the future for products that the customer has. Since future revenues also include earnings from other products, models used to estimate the likelihood of customers buying another product or service come into play. On the other hand, possible sources of losses that reduce the value of the revenue are churn. Churn will result in a reduction of revenue because the customer decided to defect before the natural end of the lifetime, possibly due to competitive offers, poor service, high pricing, or any other reason. The second element that would reduce the value of the customer is the costs involved in keeping this customer. These include costs of acquiring the customer, costs of maintenance, promotion, service, the cost of the product itself, and so on. These elements are all calculated over the span of the customer's lifetime, and the result is the difference between these two values. Here are the most common analytical tools used for developing the models needed for the calculation of the customer lifetime value. The models shown are out-of-the-box techniques that can be used to develop these models. Decision trees and neural networks are two of the most versatile tools for acquisition models. Decision trees are the most popular because they offer an easy explanation of the model and how the results are obtained. Neural networks, on the other hand, are more accurate in many cases, but are perceived as being difficult to interpret. Customer lifetime value is a perfect example where the output of predictive analytics feeds into the process of business intelligence. It is a variable that should play a fundamental role in the design of any customer acquisition and customer relationship management strategy. NGO's data science platform offers you customer lifetime value functionality found in our predictive modeling suite. To find out how NGO's software and services can help you with customer lifetime value strategies, contact us at info@angos.com. In many cases.
In fact, I'll take a quick pause here. This is what I wanted you to take away importantly. Of course, the other definitions of CLV would have given you a broader perspective of how CLV can consider multiple factors for better calculations. But this is one thing I want you to remember. what kind of algorithms can help you across different aspects. So this is exactly what we try to implement using Python also. So just keep this in mind. Definitely this helps in the long run for you. So now let's look at how marketing is done to the profitable customers. So with the help of the CLV that we computed, the simplest calculation of the CLV that we saw in the class, the segments can be calculated or identified. The customer segmentation can be done in a sound data-driven manner. So even increasing the number of your good customers may not be worth an expensive marketing campaign or costly incentives. So you need to segment the customers correctly. To find out whether your efforts will pay off in the future or not, you need to calculate your marketing campaign, that is, or your customer acquisition efforts and their corresponding return on ROI. So how do you market? So the CLV can be used to evaluate the success of a marketing campaign. That is how much money that you have spent to acquire a customer during a certain time period. And then you divide by the total number of customers acquired during that time. So the average amount of money spent to acquire each individual, each new customer, you'll be able to calculate it this way. Then you look at the total ROI of your marketing campaign to see whether it is a success or a failure. If it is less than CLV, yes, it is understandable. If it is more than CLV, that means you have spent more to acquire a customer than the money that you're going to get over a lifetime period. So profitability is something which you compute in this way. So what is the formula? To calculate the ROI of your marketing campaign to acquire new customers, you can use this particular formula. ROI is equal to customer lifetime value minus marketing cost per customer acquired. That is how much you have spent, not only from the short-term point of view, from the long-term point of view. So the total expenditure divided by the number of customers in a way will give you marketing cost per customer acquired. And then divided by the marketing cost per customer acquired, that will give you the percentage, how much you have spent. That defines the ROI for your acquisition. So check whether your marketing campaigns are profitable. If it gives a negative number, that means your campaign is failure. If it gives a positive number, your campaign is good. So a negative ROI means that the marketing campaign was a money loser, as I was just indicating. So CLV actually provides a very, very critical information about just how much you can spend on the marketing campaign, or how much you can afford to lose also by offering incentives. So in a way, this one metric, which you can calculate with the help of predictive algorithms that we saw earlier, will be able to act as an important decision-making factor with respect to the customer acquisition strategies, with respect to the below the line discounts that you can offer, above the line marketing expenditure that you can do. So a data which is identified with the help of the customer analytics, a metric which is calculated and measured with the help of the customer analytics, is actually helping you to take some critical decisions here on the overall marketing campaign process. So remember, just like you acquire new customers by creating attractive incentives and marketing specifically to them, increasing your existing customers' lifetime value also really helps. That's why the cross-selling and upselling comes into picture. You should also ensure that they are not churning away from you. That will result in loss. Cross-selling and upselling is increasing your customer lifetime value on top of your current prediction. So yeah, higher satisfaction rate, when you develop this engagement, when you develop this relationship with the customer over a period of time, it improves the satisfaction rate. When you improve the satisfaction rate, it results in the increase of the frequency of purchases. So obviously, the amount of value, revenue generated each time and your customer lifetime all will contribute to a higher customer lifetime value. So this is straightforward mapping. The satisfied and loyal customers are more likely to recommend your products. They are your advocates, brand advocates to their friends, colleagues, and everyone. and that enlarges your customer base. That's a bigger additional advantage for you. So that's another important takeaway for you. The cost of acquisition for a new customer is often much higher than what needs to be spent to retain existing customers or increasing their purchases. In fact, there is a famous statistics that you actually spend 5 times the money to acquire a new customer than to retain the existing customer. This goes well for the employees also. It is always good to retain an existing employee than hiring a new employee, because an existing employee knows the culture better, understands everything, and the cost of retention will be much lower compared to acquiring a new employee. So same goes for employees and customers. So customers who are highly satisfied, they are the best advocates for you. They are the best ambassadors for you. They are the ones who are going to provide you free word of mouth marketing. So ensure that you are able to identify the profitable customers. You are able to define who those customers are, identify them, work with them, relate to them, build that emotional connect with them, and improve your customer lifetime value over a period of time by cross-selling, by upselling, by avoiding churns. This will actually help you to have a very profitable business over a period of time. So this is what I wanted to primarily cover as part of customer lifetime value. Of course, let me